What's up guys? Welcome to a new YouTube video. If you're not a subscriber yet, please hit that button now. In my last video we looked at the 7 elements of the perfect bird image, and for today I thought let's look at what makes you a great bird photographer. The most important thing for you to be a successful bird photographer is to know your birds. You have to see a bird and instantly know what it is. If you show me any bird of the world, I will have a pretty good guess what bird it is and how I could take a photo of it. The same is true for your listening. Listen to bird calls, learn them, and if you hear a bird in the field, instantly know which bird it is. It will also help you tremendously in identifying the birds and finding a strategy to get a good photo. If you can't do either of the two, it will actually be really hard for you to get nice bird images because you don't really know what bird you're dealing with and what its behavior is. Talking about behavior, that's a really important point to study for you as well. Often I go out without my camera, I'm just walking around with my binoculars, studying birds, especially when the light is not very nice. Walk around, I look for new birds, I see what are they doing, are they always returning to a certain area, and often they do. Kingfishers, for instance, they often return to the same perch every single day, and instantly we find a fantastic photography opportunity because we can just set ourselves up next to a nice perch and get some stunning kingfisher images. A few years ago I was actually just on a walk with my binoculars and I heard fantail cuckoos in the distance. So I followed the call, found the birds, actually a big group of birds hunting on a sort of flooded field. And what I noticed when I just sat down to witness the birds, that they would always perch on little kind of twigs and sticks sticking out from the middle of the field. So what did I do? I found myself a few dummy perches, stuck them up in the middle of the field, and within a few minutes the cuckoos actually started to use them. That's pretty cool, isn't it? But I didn't then just run, get my camera and got some ugly shots. No, I waited a few days, returned with some really cool looking perches, set them up instead of my dummy perches, and within minutes the cuckoos landed on them and I got some stunning shots of them having even these cool funky looking caterpillars in their mouth. Pretty cool, isn't it? So don't always just go out to take pictures. Also spend a lot of time just learning about birds, learning about their calls, and just watching birds, learning their behaviors, and see if there's behavior patterns that you can take advantage of, and I know it will benefit your photography greatly. First, patience and perseverance, and lots of it. I know you will all know how frustrating it can be at times. You see a bird, you just can't get the shots you want, and sometimes it takes hours, days, weeks, even years until you get the shot that you actually want. And I think this patience and perseverance is really what makes a great bird photographer. For instance, Major Mitchell cockatoos, regent parrots, and superb parrots. That's birds I wanted for years, tried and tried again, and every time something else went wrong, but then eventually I managed, I persevered, and I got the shots that I always had dreamed of. Now I'm not a very patient person, but I trained myself now when I'm outside. I'll just forget everything else around me. I just focus on my goal, focus on getting that picture that I really want, and I stay with it. And I sometimes spend days and days not even really thinking about the time. I'm just out there trying to get the shots, and when you get it in the end, it's just the best feeling. Is using your creativity and developing your own style as a bird photographer. Nothing worse just having the same shot over and over and over again that you just see on the internet all the time as well. Find something that you like and that makes your images unique. For me, it's clearly having a bird and a beautiful pose on a perfect perch with a really nice out of focus background. That's what I love, and that's what I aim for, and that's what I really enjoy, and that's what has become my style. But for you, it could be something completely different. It could be silhouettes, birds in flight, birds in their environment really small in the frame. What it is doesn't really matter, but I think it's important that you aim to use your creativity to develop something that makes you stand out from the crowd. So how do you develop your own style? Personally, I just looked at all the images on the internet when I was younger, and I just made a lot of folders with images that I really liked, images that I didn't really like, and I just studied them, and I talked to people, I contacted other photographers, tried to find out what they do until I figured out what they were doing and learned how I could take nicer images, better pictures, and eventually develop my own style, which it is today. And on that note, I think it's really important that you just reach out to people that you admire. For instance, I'm always open for questions. If you have any questions about bird photography, write it in the comments, send me a DM on Instagram. I don't mind, I'm more than happy to discuss bird photography with you, answer all your questions. People have helped me in the past tremendously, and so I'm more than happy to share what I know with all of you and help you to become better bird photographers. I already talked about equipment in my last video, 7 elements of a great bird image, but it's so important that I think we have to mention it here again. And it doesn't really matter what equipment you use, 100 to 400 or 300, 600mm lens, 150 to 500, any sort of camera, it doesn't really matter. What's important is that you master your equipment and you know how to use it without even thinking about it. It shouldn't take you any time to change your ISO, change your shutter speed, change your aperture. It just needs to be second nature, and your hands just need to know where to go. Why is that important? Because if you can't change your settings quickly, you will be fumbling around with your camera, missing shots. So this is how I do it. I kind of have a benchmark for every weather situation that I just dial in, check my histogram, check what it looks like, and then go from there and adjust the settings to get the perfect histogram. So on a day like today, cloudy, I'm always thinking f8, 400th of a second, ISO 1600. If it was sunny, I'd probably go something like ISO 400, f8, 800th or 1000th of a second. I take a test shots at these settings, check my histogram, and adjust it from there. So essentially this is what I do. Turn on my camera, put in the settings, take a test shot of a light colored tree, check my histogram, it looks great, I'm ready to go. That gives me an edge over everyone else because I can do it so fast. And if you can't do it this fast, I really recommend for you to just practice, go out there with your equipment and master it. Element number 5 that I find very important is research and preparation. I never just go into any odd forest, run around and try to get some bird pictures without knowing there's any birds there. I spend hours and hours on the internet, on Google, in Facebook groups, looking at other people's pictures, reading trip reports, just to try and find out where I can get the best birds and the best photos. So this is something that I think is crucially important, and is probably something people don't do enough. You need to know that the birds are where you're gonna go, or you will just get no shots. This is something whenever I go somewhere, like when I went to Connemara to get Gouldian finches, I beforehand did a lot of research to find out where to get those shots. Black grass wren, we found out where to get the shots, went there, found the birds, got the shots. Major Mitchell cockatoos, same thing, you find the areas, you find the birds, you get your shots. It's the same for every bird. Be prepared. I never go on any trip or any day without knowing that the birds that I want are in the area. And that gives me a much higher success rate and will give you This is quite an interesting one, editing your images. For some reason in nature photography, it's seen as something undesirable and almost bad to edit your images, whereas in every other genre of photography, it's normal to edit your images and enhance them to get the absolute most out of them. Personally, I think editing is needed, but I like to edit my images as little as possible, but as much as needed. Why do I think editing is important? It's simple. Our human eye can see much more dynamic range than any camera sensor. We can have over 20 stops. That means a really bright area has details in our eye, and the really dark areas we can see details at the very same time. Whereas capturing such a high dynamic range image with your camera becomes a real challenge. You need the perfect light, and even then it's hard to get the details in the highlights and the shadows at the same time. If you're exposing, you get the most details in the dark areas, you basically blow out all the highlights. If you're exposing just for the highlights, you end up with a severely underexposed image and losing details in the dark areas. So we're severely limited by the capabilities of the camera sensor. And why should we be happy with that? This is where editing comes in. Instead of just being happy what the camera spits out at us, we take our RAW file, adjust the settings in the RAW converter, put it into Photoshop, make some adjustments and enhancements, and get fantastic images, taking our images from good to great. And this is what we really want to do. We don't want to go in there and over edit everything out. We don't want to blur our backgrounds. That's a big no-no for me. We just want to do enhancements to the scenes that we've captured to get the absolute most out of our images. So to me, as I said, the editing process is an integral part of my whole photography process to get my images from a good level to an outstanding level. And if you're not editing your images, I really think you should be getting into it, thinking about it more, learning about it, and getting the most out of your shots in the future. We'll actually be making a lot of videos about how to edit your bird images very soon, so stay tuned, subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the editing process? Is it too much? Is it integral to photography? Let me know and we can have a discussion. And lastly, you want to have some great social media and marketing skills. Everyone's on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube. This is where the attention is. This is where you should be as well if you want to get your work seen and connect with people. People these days, they find you on social media, they scroll through their feed, they see your image, they think, wow, that's amazing. Let's click on a profile, see your account, they follow you, they connect with you, they might message you. This is how people see you these days, and that's how you get seen. So it's important to have images that stand out, and you also want to specifically prepare your images for every medium you're posting on. So on Facebook, it doesn't matter as much what ratio you're posting, but on Instagram it's important to post either square or by 4x5 sized image, because it takes up the most screen space on a phone and gets your images seen the most, and people will stay longer on your image than an image that's really like a 16:9 crop that's just really narrow and people can flick past it really quickly. Social media is the place to be, so get out there, don't be scared, ignore the haters, take the nice comments, and also take the constructive criticism, incorporate it in your work. It will make you a better photographer, and that's really helped me. Also as a hobbyist, I think you can just get out there, maybe post in an internet forum to get some more critique on your images that you can incorporate in your photography workflow. There's no need to hide your images just on your hard drive where no one can see them. Get them out there, connect on social media with me if you haven't done that yet. Get your work out there, get your work seen, talk to people, have fun, and become a better photographer. I really hope you enjoyed today's video and that I could give you some ideas to improve as a bird photographer. Let's recap. Number 1, know your birds. You have to know the birds, what they look like, their calls and their behavior. It will give you much more opportunities to become a great bird photographer and take great bird images. Secondly, you have to have patience and perseverance. It takes hours and hours and hours, sometimes years, to get that one shot you always wanted, but once you do, it's always worth it. Thirdly, use your creativity and work on creating your own style as a photographer. This is what will set your work apart and make it stand out from the crowd. Fourthly, it sounds simple, but it's very important that you master your camera and your gear. It doesn't even matter what gear you're using, you just want to be the master of it and use it really quickly, really efficiently to be able to just turn it on, take the shot, be ready to go at all times. Number 5, you want to do your research before you do a trip, before you go anywhere. You want to spend some hours on Google, on social media, on Facebook, finding out where the birds are so you know where to go. Number 6, you need to be able to edit your images to take them to the next level. Make sure they stand out from the crowd and they look the best they can look. Don't be happy with average images. Don't do straight out of camera. Don't blur your backgrounds. Use RAW, enhance your RAW files, put them into Photoshop, edit them up nicely and get the best results. And lastly, you want to be able to be good at marketing and social media, spending lots of time there, commenting, posting, connecting and engaging with other people to get your work seen, get yourself known, and to connect with other people, to have a good time and maybe even make some money with your own photography. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe to my channel, stay up to date with all my latest videos. Let me know in the comments, have I missed a point? Is there any other points that can make you a great photographer I didn't talk about? Which point do you agree on? Do you disagree with some points? What do you think about editing? Let me know, give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.